So what will we talk about? If you're here for the first time, most of you know me, but I have worked in all big companies. That's my claim to fame. But I'm teaching for a long time, and I'm from India, and I've lived whole my life here, and I never thought that I will leave India, to be honest. Never had a passport. And things turned out that this is my 16th year in US now, and like there's no plan to come back also, like kids are there and all that. So, it's like, that's a other day story. But I'm always, when I come back, I talk to you folks, it's always feel like you take me back to the boy I was and the place. And I was telling like how I fight for like 10 rupees and give away 500. So that's me. That's why I'm here. Today, you need not to be on camera. You can just smile along because I can see you all. This is how I always wanted to teach, but COVID and then Zoom scales better. You make more money online than this way. So there has to be that. So today you can just smile along and I ask you questions, you just follow along. And if people are from Gaurav's side, then we have to just show them that we are better than them on concepts and system design as well. By the way, Gaurav will come here and talk about stuff. So you need to show off and say you know all that. Okay, so there's that today. Okay, this worked. So today's agenda, it was working all along. I tested it. So I will talk about basically what's happening, what's new and latest. I think that's why you like me or I like you, that I know what's happening, what people are liking, and I will give you new things that are becoming table stakes in second half of 2026. I will deep dive on how to build a second brain for your AI agents that you can use to go and make these agents more useful for your companies. That's the deep dive session today. And then anything you want me to do, both me and Gaurav are supposed to dance. So if you say this song and Nach, so I was like, okay, that also is part of the plan today. Same for Gaurav. He will do anything. He's not here, I'm signing him up. And then basically with Pranav, we will do anything. That's the plan today. So this is the session. Should go fast. So you prepare for user need, how to find gaps, and how to do awesome execution, while they are expecting you to tell them stories, how you manage context for agents, how you have put observability in your agent stack so that they can find ROI and where the money is going, and how can you price and how can you make money for them. That's what those guys are preparing, and that's their world looks like. Your world, if this is how your world looks like, maybe you won't succeed like Ranveer succeeded. Maybe you crash like somebody else. And these folks are what you need to succeed in these interviews. One thing is, your knowledge is not that important. Your judgment is counted more. And that you are seeing in the interviews, that if you look at it, if you go through this, I have this knowledge of how this circle framework works, and I have these 3 stories, and all that got out of the window for me when people ask me questions like, hey, I see it in your CV, you built this agent, tell me 3 times it failed. Tell me what are the biggest context problem you have faced. Tell me how you figured out how to sell this to customers or build trust with customers. And you are like, where is the pain? Where is my circle? All your frameworks are not working in this new world because people are asking you to talk to them, right? And when you talk to them, what they're asking is your secrets. You should be knowing more than your interviewer. That's the expectation. When I interviewed at Google, and I was supposed to join the incubation team, the incubation team idea was that we have these DeepMind models now, and we need to find ways, how can we use this inside Google as the first use case? And I cleared the interview, and then somebody told me that, hey, I interviewed with this team that they hired you, and they're rejecting pretty much everybody for 3 months. They don't hire anybody. And I was like, mine was like, they seemed very desperate on my case. So I asked my manager after I went in, and I was like, what was it? Like, why you hired me while I heard that you were rejecting pretty much? And he was like, Mahesh, when we talked to you, you told us things about evaluation that nobody else was talking about. You gave us a framework, and that I built that framework then because I was building it at AWS. And then You showed us things that were failing for us. And when I talked to you, it seemed like you could teach us how to bring these agents to life. And after that, it was no brainer for me because I needed somebody who could train my team in this new world. And you was the guy. You were that guy for us. So exactly that, right? And same now, when I go talk to customers, the customers that I convert, which is like people who give me 150K and help trust me to build agents or AI into their companies, these are the people who come to me and they get to know something that they don't know. So we were talking to Global Logic. It's a Hitachi-based consulting company. Lot of people, they are reading all the stuff. They did our course, by the way, also. Their VP did our course, so they know all this stuff. But then I told them something they didn't know and which I didn't teach in the course, which I just learned. And they were like, okay, Mahesh, you help us. You figure out, let's move fast and let's close this. So whether it's your clients, your interviewers, or even to build things, you need to have secrets. Okay, then the problem becomes how to find secrets, how to discover them. Because if everybody knew them, then they are not secrets. One secret is you learned vibe coding. I taught you all. Everybody say vibe coding. Yay. No? Yeah, great. Okay. What I'm saying is that now, this year, people are looking at all what you have done in production. They want to hear words like Snowflake. They want to hear words like, I have done, by the way, that hazy thing that you can't see at all. On left-hand side, this is Azure observability screenshot. On right-hand side, we have Snowflake. And this is, we have graphs of your knowledge that you have covered. And I want to hear these stories from you, that how you put all your context at one place, how you got Snowflake, how you got observability. Okay? What else? What else are the secrets? I want to hear from you that you have built for agents and not for humans. When I ask you for a product requirement document, that PRD should have requirements for agents and not for humans and also for agents. That's what we have shown you. I will give you that resource, that what an agent needs in your PRD. Because most probably, this is a common knowledge now that people are taking your PRD and giving it to Claude Code and saying, hey, build this app. And if it is written for humans, can you show me 4 things that you added for agents which allowed your developers to write a better code because you wrote a better PRD? So that's the next thing, which is how can, if 30% of our workforce are going to be agents, if not already this year, then hopefully by next time this year, then do you have a PRD format that works for agents? And they cleaned the slide. That's the link. I thought they didn't, but that's why I was saying I will give you the link. But now you know that the team behind the scenes also work. Okay, then. I thought I talked about these 3 things, but the most important thing, which has evolved the most in last 6 months, is how you provide context to agents. And it's not a solved problem yet. But I wanted to discuss that deeply, walk you through in this one case, and I wanted to wear good clothes and have a lightning session as well. So that's why I put up all this. Otherwise, we could have just had a dinner and chit chat. That's more important also. So let me walk through this quickly, and then we will do a free flow Q&A, and I want to have that time. But today, let's talk about context engineering, not for humans, not for products, but for AI agents. And how can you serve or give context to AI agents like Claude Code and Cowork? What that journey will look like for enterprises. Okay, Aaron, I follow Aaron. I keep his examples because he keep writing stuff, and which I wanted to say, but he says it before me. And he said that whenever we are talking to customers, what we are seeing is that every problem is a context problem. And as humans, all of you are so good at filling the context. When you start working with agents, the agents are not that good. And you can't provide all the context upfront also. So everybody is saying use agents, automate everything. But unless you give the right context or teach them how to fill that gap that you have in your understanding when you're assigning jobs, these agents are not working. Okay? What's the difference between prompt engineering and context engineering? This is where I wanted to show off that my people are better than Gaurav's people. And everybody is looking at me as if they are not my people, they are Gaurav's people. They're like, no, bhai, humne Gaurav ka bhi course le rakha hai. Today I thought I will talk in Hindi and everybody will be able to relate to me. Then Shankar told me he doesn't talk Hindi. So I'm like, okay. So the idea of prompt engineering is you write prompts, you have one shot to solve the problem, while context is much larger, bigger avenue, where you are looking at how can you use knowledge bases to extract the right context, how can you use tools to build the context, how can you use the context of the memory to build stuff for you. Obviously, I give you all contract examples because I continue to iterate in that world. We give a contract. This is our prompt. What's the difference between system prompt and user prompt? Tell me you're still alive. Yeah, so basic difference is system prompt is written by the person who's building the agent, and user prompt is written by the person who is using the agent. Okay? And system prompt is where I taught you a lot of things like role, goal, instructions, constraint. Now, बेइज्जती करा दिया पूरी, यहाँ गौरव के लोग भी आए हुए हैं आज. So then user prompt is, okay, I launch this agent and you come and say, hey, book tickets for me. Like in this case, the user is saying, hey, I have attached an NDA. Can you give me any red flags before I sign this non-disclosure agreement or a contract? And your agent goes and says, hey, the NDA looks mostly fine. There's some liability things, but not too bad. Go ahead and sign it. Great. You give the context of the contract and some system prompt, and this is how your agent works. Everybody good? Then what happens is, if you want to do context engineering in this case, this is your system, this is your user input, but you need to add your short-term and long-term memories also. So then I added short-term and long-term memories, which said, hey, user want all the clauses listed exactly as they appear, compare each one. By the way, here are policy restriction. By the way, the governing law for these folks have been Delaware because they are in Delaware. I have stored that in my memory because I know about this customer. So I add that to the context. Then I don't stop there. And I search my knowledge base and I find out all the legal things that we have seen in past causing problems in NDA. So I attach that as well to the prompt. And then I say, hey, run these two tools I have. One is clause checker tool and one is the liability scan API. And I also use their returns or their context here. Okay? So now I add all this in my prompt and I send it to the model and I get this response, which none of you can read. And again, the Zoom folks can read it because it's high fidelity. But the idea here is, it says that, hey, the receiving party is saying, you will indemnify them for unlimited amount. That means if I would have signed it, and if something would have gone wrong, they would have asked more than my company's worth and made me bankrupt. And now it's suggesting that, hey, go talk to or negotiate a better deal where you cap it to the money they paid you. Generally, indemnification market value is that you paid me 100K. If something goes wrong or if I disclose, I will pay you 200K. But here in this contract, it says there is no cap. That means they can ask for the whole of my company, maybe $1 billion, and I've signed it. So these are the kind of things that were hiding. But if I did good context engineering, I could find them. But then why can't we find these things? Why the context doesn't work? Why these things always remain a challenge to be solved? Then, what are the problems in getting this context? Obviously, I created this deck, so it was so easy for me to pick up one problem and get it. But when you actually start doing context engineering, you will run into all these problems. Number one, you will have context clash because one tool will say one thing, one knowledge base will say one thing, your memory will say another thing. To pick what is right would be always a hard choice for the model. And there will be 1/3 probability that you can go wrong because there is a context clash. And 40% accuracy drop is contributed because of that in experiments that we have done. These on left-hand side, so this is one of the paper that we read, which is, if you look at token context is getting increased, as you are going multiple turns. On bottom side, you have number of turns. So I ask a question, you respond, I ask, you respond. And at 60 steps, which by the way are not like you are doing, the model is doing with the tool, the model is doing with the memory. If you look at Claude code, it does more than 70 transactions where it says searching for this, doing that, all those are steps. And at 60th step, you see a fall. And that is where it has lost all the context and it starts again. And your accuracy drops with it. So that's another challenge is that you have context poisoning. What happens is, I ask a question and you got a wrong answer because you went to a wrong website. And now it's part of your short-term memory. And now every time you go, you keep on exaggerating and now you have taken a wrong direction or there is a bad thing inside your context and that is screwing up all your answers all along. Okay? Seems like hard problems. Life is hard, huh? Then there is just a lot of context. Because now these models, we looked at context and we means DeepMind, Anthropic, and OpenAI. And early days in 2023, somebody asked me that, hey, should we build a company which help us increase the context? That time we had like 4K and 16K context was cool. And then I said, no, this will be a solved problem because here the problem is compute and people will figure out how to get money to get compute. So don't work on those problems. Figure out how to fit in the right context, right? And there the challenge is that now we have models with 10 million tokens. That's around 7,000 pages. That's the kind of context the models are taking. And if you give that much, then it gets distracted because there is so much information and it can pick this from here, or where the information. And that's where you are losing a lot of tokens and not getting the right answers. Okay? And there is confusion. One tool, which tool to call, you have seen that. If you connect more than 50 tools, initial models of Claude, when I was working in Bedrock, when Claude was supposed to be just a model and we were supposed to build the framework of agents on top of the model, I thought we can be cool because we can, my strategy there was that we can build the agents and they will keep providing the models and we will have the first, and we launched the first agents for Bedrock before OpenAI. And the idea was that we will work on that and we gave them all the requirements that how to make tool calling working. And then we saw that beyond 6 tools, the model couldn't handle anything. And then we came to multi-agent saying, hey, we'll have one agent, 6 tools, then other agent, 6 tools. So the invention of multi-agent was just to cover the shortcomings of model to call tools. But now you are seeing it at a next level because everything is a connection to Claude and it doesn't know which one to call because Amplify can do the same thing that Composio can do. And by the way, Snowflake is also written. And I have tools for all 3 connected to my model. So which one should I pick? And if I pick a wrong one, I'm done. Okay. By the way, if I told you all these things that, Claude is solving all that, will that relieve you from all the pressure now? So I build a lot of tension that context doesn't work and it's your problem to solve. But then, because I'm here, for you guys, I can say that Anthropic will solve it for you. And how they are solving it, let's look at that. So Claude is supposed to solve all these problems now. Because if you are part of my cohort, and not Ankit was supposed to be here, so let's not talk bad about Ankit. So, not about anybody else's cohort. Then you also understood this idea of agentic loop and how Claude is taking the whole context management inside the SDK, rather than giving you the problem or you need to solve the context problem. Claude Code and Cowork are solving the context problem themselves. So let's look at how they handle it. First, too much context and context clash. Turn 1, turn 2, model is confused. For that, first, they introduced it in the design and they are saying attach the folder, right? Because they don't have a solution. So they are asking you to say, let's set the context to this folder only and we will not go beyond the folder. You have seen it all. And then inside the folder, they are doing embedding search. They are creating the vector databases. They are working on the retrieval and they are doing keyword search also. So they are combining all the methods, the semantic search and the keyword search both to build the right context for you so that you need not to do anything. And if it doesn't work, you can complain to Claude, and maybe next version, next SDK version, they will fix it in their harness. So that's the first thing they are doing. The second thing is, when this works, okay, how we are solving for context poisoning. So wrong context gets in, the model continues to hallucinate for you. For that, they're putting this evaluation loop. The evaluation loop idea is that you tell me how to evaluate, and every time I go and run this query, I will go and check the context, and if I find something wrong, I will fix it. So yesterday I was creating a computer brain for ourselves, and then I said, take all my Zoom recordings and create a wiki for me from there. And then it said, oh, actually I truncated it because it was not fitting in my context. So when I gone to evaluate it, it found out that problem, and then it went and found the bigger one and divided it into different files and then inserted it. Otherwise, it would have that day recording, but the day recording was only 2 pages long. Generally, our recording is 200 pages, if you ever tried our transcripts. So it goes and fixes that. And then at the compaction, which it does behind the scenes, so these are evaluation and compaction are part of the agentic loop. And it solves those two problems as well. In compaction, when it compacts the model, it tries to look out for everything which is redundant, everything which is only fact, and try to reduce the token size. And behind the scenes, the prompt are take away the bad stuff, take away which is not relevant, take away which you found in evaluation to be wrong. Okay? So 2 hooks there to clean the context as well. Great. Then you have distraction that, hey, I have this knowledge or this knowledge, which one to pick? I have so much of it. That's the idea of sub-agents. Everybody got sub-agents? Nobody. By this time, I have put them all to sleep because they are saying that these folks can go and sleep because it's 2:30. And you are like, we had lunch. So, what's your excuse? So the idea here is they introduce this idea of sub-agent. So when you create a sub-agent, each agent gets its own context. And then they combine the context from these different agents into the main agent, and they take the best of it. So they're not polluting the whole context and making it large enough. The sub-agent goes solve for each context. And then you can launch different sub-agents, and each sub-agent can have its own window. And when it comes back to you, you only have the relevant context that you need. Great. Seems like we have solved all of it. Context confusion, for that, there's this planning and logging step that happens before they even go and start building the context for you. That's outside the model. Before it goes in context, you ask it a question and it says, let me create a plan for you. Let me create a log, and then I will go through those steps. And at each step, I will build the context I need. So these are the 4 things that are already happening for you. And if you're going to build your agents, which are going to compete with Claude Code or Claude Cowork, at least you should have these 4 things inside your design, inside your principles, because without that, you are going to be subpar from a product which people are paying $20 for. Same page? So wherever Salesforce folks are, if you're building Coco or Cowork, then you are up against these folks. And I'm pretty sure you're doing none of what they are doing, because I'm yet to see sub-agents with their context in your Coco thingy. So there is a hard problem to compete with Cowork or Claude Code now, because they are doing all these things and they're learning all along. So maybe I thought I will walk you through how Claude builds the context, and I found it interesting when I was preparing for this session that they have this context window, and they show me, I know this is a little harder to see, but can you see it now? Not in high resolution, but on the idea, the top is your system prompt, then your Claude.md, then memory, then they load the skills, then MCP, then your rules, and then your file. For an example, you say start session, it starts building this context for you, and then you can ask a question. So this context is already gone inside the model before you even start asking the question. Your system message, your memory, your environment info, what tools you have connected so far, their description only, not their results, just what tools you have, all the skills you have added, or your common Claude.md file, and your project.claude.md. So by this time, you have this much session and these many tokens. Even if you say hi, you are using and burning these tokens. So if somebody asks you, why is my Claude build so much? It's the context that it has to create and build. And then you ask this question, fix my auth bug where user gets 401 after token refresh. Me and Sachin spent like 4 hours yesterday fixing that for Composio. So we thought maybe that example will be perfect. So I asked that question and then it started reading my source files. And you see this context getting increased on top. That's what's happening behind the scenes for you, right? So behind the scenes, what's happening is that I am getting all this context getting built. I'm reading all your files. And as I continue building or reading these files, my context continues to grow. And then you can see where the rules context is. You can see where my skill context is. And this is what goes behind the scenes when you are building context. First is you can set these metrics and track how good Claude is doing it, because in AI, it's easy to claim that I'm solving all the problems or world hunger. But as you have seen it and as you know, none of these problems are solved problems. So at least have new metrics for context and put them for your teams and start tracking them. These are the new metrics that I think I created. I will take full credit of all of this. What happens in AI, and I'm working on this for the last 10 years, we solve one problem, and now these folks need to see me. Hi. So you solve one problem, and then you introduce another problem, or you want to solve a larger problem. You increase my floor, and I will increase my ceiling. Means that's the idea of technology, no? Like people thought if you build computers or if you give Excel files, then accountants will be out of job. But then accountants created those macros. Remember macros? Anybody? Right? And then that was what humans will do. And then if macros were automated, now we'll figure out the next way. So what are the next big problem? What's the next problem? Okay, I give a folder context. I put my contracts. I ask questions. They do all the compaction. They figure out sub-agents. They launch these tools. They do all this thing and solve the problem. But then I go to customers, and the customers give me a folder with 20,000 contracts in it. The size is 2 GB, and I put it, and Claude has no clue what to do with it because it's just too much information. It doesn't know how to handle it. And every company, every place, all of you are working today, have some kind of a folder. Ideal would be, here is our drive, here is my C drive, or here is my company drive, and Claude go there and just do the work, right? I don't think we are even like one step there in solving that problem. So now, maybe it's the first time we take a step towards solving that problem. If Claude is going to solve the context problem, then how can we solve the largest, biggest context problem, which is the context of our companies? So I was looking at problems, and then I saw what is Y Combinator doing, and I watched this video, which you can watch also, but I can summarize for you so that you can save 18 minutes of your life. No, I'm not. When I see Lohit, that means I've messed up something. Oh, good. Okay. So this guy, what he says in this is that the cool part he talks about is that, hey, how can you go and put all your company information? If you want to be an AI native company, you need to have AI native context. And for that, the suggestion is all your calls, wherever they happen, they want to put them in a folder. They want to record every conversation that's not happening in the calls, and they want to put those. And then they want to build a context management system. And then they want to build a loop which cleans and learns what's happening in organization, and then give that context to the agents. And then these agents may work. That's the hypothesis. The hypothesis is put everything that people are doing, people idea, competitor, your projects, and whatever happened today should all be uploaded, processed, and then your agent will have the latest, greatest context, and then you can assign work and go home, and hopefully when you come back, something will be working. I looked at that and I said, yeah, that's what maybe, and today I can talk bad about America because, you know, I still need to go back, but at least they can't deport me. So the idea is that when you're an American company like Y Combinator, especially these investment firms, they can talk about all day about ideas because they solve none of those ideas. They fund people to solve these ideas. So when you go try solving these ideas, you actually found out it's not that easy. And there, the problems are, if you want to build the company-wide context, and that's what you're seeing maybe, the early signs, if your company or you are using context, first problem is, you need to leave the mouse so my mouse works. This side, no, something is happening, but I think you have the mouse maybe getting confused. So just click it here. Yeah, I think we got it. So first of all, everybody in the company is asking the same question, uploading the contract and wasting same tokens. Anthropic is happy, but your bill is not happy. So everybody is building their own context and there is no context sharing. So I built this perfect prompt. I got the answer. But then when Shankar went, Shankar asked the same question. Shankar asked its three explanation. And then we all are wasting tokens because we are using tokens as if they are free, but they are the largest, biggest bill, at least next year, if not this year. We are already discussing how it is beating the cloud bill, which runs your company infrastructure. This is just an app. Second is, when we build the context, a company-wide context for agents, there's no way humans can see that context. So I can't go and fix it. I have access to files, but when you build this whole context for the model, or when Claude built it, I didn't get to see it. I got an answer. So I want to have a common transaction between me and what is fed to the agents so I can improve it, or at least I can learn from it so that I can be as good as these agents are, right? So we don't have a common platform or common way to manage context. People who just came, hi, I'm Mahesh. But we are talking about if Claude is going to manage all your context, then what are humans going to do, or what are the biggest problems that are not solved even if Claude manage your context? And the last is people spending so much time in building these artifacts, but in the company nobody is rewarding them. They are the next developers. They are contributing to your company's revenue. But there is no way they can submit this work and get rewarded to add or improve the context for agents. Not for the artifacts that the agent produced, that is incentivized today, but feeding to the agents. If I build the best tool which gives the best context, or I wrote the best page by going through 20 iterations with Claude, and I publish this page, and next time in the company everybody can use this page, then I should be rewarded. But nobody knows today I created this page. There's no incentive mechanism for humans to make agents or Claude better. And because of that, we are finding no ways to contribute to this new economy or new jobs. And if agents are going to do the work, that may be the next job. And there is no way to do that. So these are the problems I saw. And then I looked at what Karpathy was talking about, and he also was the cutest guy there. He also solves it for himself and then think that the world will solve it. So he gave this idea of the company brain or an LLM wiki. So he gave it a small idea. The idea was that your LLM needs a wiki. So your agent need a wiki. And he said, you can build a wiki with you, and you can ingest all your data to one place. Then you can query from that one place. And then you can clean that wiki. And you can use agents to create the wiki, to query the wiki, and clean the wiki. So the idea is that every company wanted a perfect wiki, right? If you go to a company, and this is like people who are being this, means I was at Facebook, and when I went there, I was like, where is the wiki? And they were like, ha ha ha. We have a Facebook, inside Facebook, we have a Facebook which is internal. and they're like, this is our wiki. You go search and you read posts, and then you read this guy post, then you go to this guy post, which is attached to this, and then your whole day goes along, and you have learned a lot, but you did not find the information that you were looking for. And I think, and anytime you join a new company, the one thing that you miss is a perfect wiki, and nobody has it. So he gave an idea of perfect wiki, but the idea was powered by agents so that it can be created. The hardest part of creating the best wiki for your company is actually creating a wiki and maintaining it. Because it's almost impossible. The company moves at so many speed, people join, people leave, projects are taken, projects are stopped. Who's going to do that every day? And who's going to fund that team? Hopefully no one. So he said, let's create that for us first. And I thought, if we have to create it for a company, then what would it look like? And can I build it for you folks? Okay? So that's my avenue. So far, I talked about context from prompts. I told you problems. I told you how Claude Code solves them. And then I introduced you the problem of a larger context of a company level. And then I gave you some hooks of what's out there already. Okay? So let's build something that you all can take back and deploy to your companies and actually iterate on the next arc, which Karpathy and both YC folks are not doing. Okay? Let's take India ahead, okay? That's the idea. Okay? So how to do that? Step one, you need to put all your data. You can use a Composio. You can connect YouTube. You can connect LinkedIn. You can connect anything, any source of data that your company feeds into. I was doing it for my own course. So my data is on Maven. My data is on YouTube. My data is on LinkedIn. My data is on Zoom calls. So I connect Composio to YouTube. Then I asked Claude and said, hey, take this data and create a JSON file and put all the data I need into that JSON file. JSON file is a JavaScript notation, and Gaurav will teach you all of that today. And Gaurav is like, I don't know what Mahesh just talked about. Gaurav and me just are going to dance. So okay, so then you can't look at a file, but this is a JSON file which have information about my YouTube, what was the video I posted, what was the views and all. Gaurav gave me, by the way, new ways to look at my YouTube video. I don't track that, but now I have to track more. I was just tracking views and likes and reshares. So that's there in the JSON file. So the first step of building your company brain is look at your inputs, look at your channels, and put that information in files. And Claude will do that for you through connectors. Good? Everybody know what a connector is? Should I take a session on MCP? I have a board. Anything you want, I can do that. Today is like, Mahesh is going to dance, huh? So, okay. These guys are saying what's happening today, right? Because Mahesh used to dance for us in Zoom, and now he's not even looking at us. Not really. I care a lot about you folks. It's just that they are live and they have turned on their cameras. Okay, so once you have your data, then I take YouTube, my Composio to that, and then I get connected. I think there are 2 slides there for the same thing. Once you have your data, then you can connect and then your data pipeline. And then here I'm showing you how I did it. So in Claude, you're looking at that data. I tell Composio, and in Composio gives me that data and it puts it into my JSON file. I go to my files and I'm showing you these are my JSON files that I'm getting from different sources. So one for LinkedIn, one for YouTube. It's creating those JSON files for me when I'm using this. And just raw things. So that's the kind of data we have, right? And I don't want you to think about the data. So I chose Snowflake. And the second lab, which I'm giving you today, take the input as those JSON files. So we took the data. This is the JSON file that we created in step 1. Now I take it and I tell it that, hey, Claude, put it into my Snowflake. I connected Composio and Snowflake. You could have connected Snowflake directly to Claude. It just doesn't work. Okay, so I'm using a middleman there. So Composio did a good job. And I found that when I need not to fix a lot of Snowflake schemas and all, if I went through Composio. Otherwise, you need to do a lot of circus with Snowflake and learn Snowflake. If you go through Composio, you need not to learn Snowflake. You can just give the prompt we gave and it works. Okay, so that's why I'm using Composio and MCP server. And then I say, hey, take this JSON file and insert this data into my Snowflake. Okay, that's my second step. Now my data is in Snowflake. This diagram shows you that this is my YouTube data. This data is all there. I can show you live also if you want. But all my data is in Snowflake. So this is my schema. These are my tables. And here is my YouTube data. So you can take a data preview of that. And this is my first one. This is my channels. I only have one. And from that channel, it's getting all this video. So this was the video. This is the date it got published. And these are the number of views. These are likes. They're nowhere close to Gaurav. So all of you have to work hard. We have to beat Gaurav now, or at least match him with 1/10th. I would be happy if I reach 1/10th of Gaurav. That's my goal. That's why we got Gaurav here, by the way. Oh man, that's the whole point, right? To make you feel, and you can do the same, by the way. I will say, by the way, in the whole of your class. So that's our numbers. It's very awkward for me to show you these numbers. That's the problem, Gaurav. So look at 545 views. That's our last one. Okay, 3 likes. So I'm happy. But now you have all your data at one place, which is our, which is what our place is, which is our Snowflake shows us data when it gets clicks. Great. So now I took that JSON files. Why I put that in JSON files? And why not directly to Snowflake? And now nobody remembers the JSON files, right? You guys are having all the fun. Look at these guys. That's the audience I always wanted. Yes, go ahead, please. On Zoom, please.
You do a bit of cleaning of those data while transforming into JSON.
Great. So I wanted to have a record for me, which I can also audit and review. Because once it gets into Snowflake, it's much harder for me to go into each table. I need to write SQL queries. I need to go debug. But if it is in JSON format, I can go open them. And my Claude can also go and do queries. And then I can have an intermediary step, which allows me to go and audit it, which was the second problem, that we wanted to create a common language, a common place. And you will see it in the next step, why this is important. Okay, data is in Snowflake. Everybody is happy. Then once you have all your data in Snowflake, I can call a skill. This is same. I'm just showing you how. Then they're showing you all this, what I showed you live. So I will just skip through this. This is the lab, which allows you to take all the data from your JSON file or any file you have and push it into Snowflake. Okay? So now you have 2 labs. The first lab connects to any channel, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Teams, whether it is YouTube or LinkedIn, takes all the data, puts it into some JSON files in a folder. Second one goes and puts it into Snowflake. Great. Now, let's create a wiki R style, which is corporate style, enterprise type, because that's where we make money. And Karpathy can make money on Twitter. And we want to make money getting you guys into interviews and making you roll out AI or diffuse the benefits of AI into companies. So you have Snowflake where all your data is stored. Then you ask Claude to you connect Snowflake to your Composio. Through Composio, you connect to your Claude code. And then I give you a prompt or a skill which knows what a wiki is and how to create a wiki based on your folder structure. So you give a folder structure or it creates its own, and then it goes and creates the whole wiki for you. And how that wiki look? I put those wiki files. So if you look at this, these are my files. In this folder, I have created raw files. So this is where the first time any file that comes to my brain, they get into raw. And then it goes and gets processed, gets into assets or wiki. What is wiki? It has these folders. It has a company folder. These are the companies that it came to know that I'm dealing with, whether they're my companies or I'm helping. These are the people that I deal with. In these calls, it automatically figures out if somebody is mentioned in my call. If I talk about, you folks in my call. Now it knows Pawan and it will create an identity for Pawan. And it knows that Pawan has asked all the questions to me. And Pawan did answer a question on how to get our agents or what data lake is. So I don't ask the same question to Pawan again if it would be an agent, right? So it creates all the people that we are talking to. It creates pages for all the products that we are offering. So we have a course. By the way, all of you can join the course. By the way, no, yeah, these folks, right? You have taken the course, so no selling today. But and then what are the topics which we have discussed so far, right? What are the things that are that we have or our discussions have revolved around in the videos, in the text we provided? Once you have the wiki, you can use a tool like Obsidian. And here the idea is that all I did is I dragged these files here, what you saw there. And then it creates this view, which you might have seen it already. So it creates this graph of how these files are connected to each other and creates a view for you that if I can show, and whenever I try to show you, it goes, okay, now I got the right angle. So all I have to do is expand and great. Can you see it? At least dots. You're not seeing the size, but if you see, this is our Agentic AI Institute, and these are the things that are connected to this. So Gaurav is now connected to our institute, and he can be like a formal person in the team because I talked about him in our internal calls, and I said, let's see what can we do with him. So that's the connection this Obsidian folks build with it. Similarly, if we talk about Vignesh is working with me and working on one of our accounts, which is Kraken. So it knows that Vignesh works through this, and he also works in our team, or he's part of our team. Okay, cool. Once you have done that, then what can you do? Then you can go and create your wiki. And if you have an index like this, it shows who created it. So now you're going attribution also. So I created this and Sachin helped me or improved this. So now every time this wiki is used by an agent or by a human, we are attributing this to the people who are adding these pages, whether these are agents or you are editing these pages. So this is a common source that both humans and agents will use. So now I have all the information at one place, and I could go to course. I can go to course and I can say, hey, this is what the information I have. And if some link comes up, then this is our course about bootcamp. We have the details of the bootcamp. I never gave any of this information to this agent. All I did is I dumped everything I knew, mostly my Zoom calls and Maven pages, and it knows everything. Okay, so now you have an active brain, which both useful for humans and agents. Cool. What can you do with it now? Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right? So there are open things that are left now. So now, okay, I give all my company information, all the calls, everything that happened on the floor of the company and in all the calls, and I created a wiki out of it. Now, what should happen to your resource-based access control? What should happen to, this is the information that only manager has, and what should happen to the HR doesn't have the HR agent. Everybody in the company want to look at the wiki of the HR agent, right? That who is getting paid, how much are they getting paid, who got fired and for what reason. So now all this is public information, right? So the challenge there will be that you will create these wikis. I would see them as, when you create them, you will have that access problem already. And then for people who will go and do the access, you will control this wiki pages also with the same RBAC, which you do for HR databases. So if I have in this wiki the databases or the information from that database, I can go and find that. And once I can find it, I can restrict that page and say restricted for you. So if I will say HR and that page. But now what to do with the calls? That I don't know, to be honest. Like, we can put harness there. Now you can just throw terms, say harness. Harness, let's do it through intelligence. I don't know, like it's a hard problem, right? Because I can talk about in a legal call about some information I have through HR, and then this information get leaked, but I just said it in a call and I didn't know that. And maybe that's the way to track people now better, which right now everybody has HR information. If you fire somebody, everybody knows why they got fired, and they should not. And maybe agents help us stop that, because people do these things in the calls or talks which they're not supposed to. And maybe now they get tracked. That's the answer. But I don't know seriously, and I was contemplating the same question. Yeah, means generation you can control, right? I can control like what pages to be shown to who. But if I have the call recordings, then I work and clean those call recordings and I make it available for the legal team, because it's a call that the legal person was in, and it was taught, let's say the call is within the legal domain. And just in the beginning, they discussed this person getting fired. And this person said, I talked to the HR and they told me he got fired because of that. Now, from the agent perspective, this is in the legal domain. The two people are both legal team. And now I have a secret information, which is for the HR team and about this person. And this will be updated by the wiki in that person's wiki. Right? And now when I ask a question that why they fired Mahesh, and they will know like why they fired Mahesh. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Yeah, but then I can also track who said it in the call and fire this person, right? Because this person was not supposed to.
When we are starting, we really want to solve that problem directly.
I'm not seeing that as a problem, right? That's my problem. And that's why I skipped it. I was like, okay, that's an organization problem and I don't want to solve it. I will solve the RBAC problem, which is that if a legal person is there with an HR team, I will apply the HR Uber policies to this content. And I won't expose this content to anybody who does not have HR privileges, right? So I can do that. So now HR has this information, but nobody in legal team has it because there was an HR person involved in this call. That you can do. And that's how I thought I should solve it. But it will create these problems that how we work and how we share as humans and how we share information through informal channels is much more worst than what we are supposed to share through formal channels. And that's a problem, right? And maybe this is a good time. Yeah, so then that's two things right there. One is we are putting that, that's the harness. So how are we putting it? We are putting it because that's the third skill we have. So every day our skill goes and says what information we got appended, does it conflicts with anything, and we are using an agent to go and manage the wiki and find the contradiction, confliction, and obsolete documents and mark them for deletion also. So this is the third step on this process, which is first, put all your information, second, create wiki, and third, do linting on it, which is this idea that go and fix your wiki every day. So you have 3 scheduler jobs now in Claude. One goes and finds all this information, puts it. Second, updates the wiki. And third, checks for it. And fourth one is, this wiki is also used by humans, right? So you become the human in review. But so far, I have not planned putting a team whose full-time job is to look at this wiki, because then we can't scale it. It's very hard for somebody in a wiki to know. It has to be managed by each person, each team, each organization. So now everybody has to put one person. It's like, your on-call schedules, right? So I won't have an on-call for wiki so far in my plan.
Yeah, but within the course, I think you had mentioned once that we should always...
This is my agent talking to me with all the context of what I have said in my last calls. Go ahead. Perfect. And that is for when you're trying to perform a task. Here, the cost of having a stalled information or conflicting information is some human will find it and we will correct the wiki, right? And then we'll build the skills. It's an internal knowledge base for us. It's not something that is at high stakes, and you will get like 2 chances to solve it. So that's why I'm thinking about it. And as we deploy it, we will know more. Like, can we sustain this error? The idea is that cost of error is low. And because the cost of error is low, that's what I also said in another lessons, that if the cost of error is so, you can fully automate it. And if the cost of error is low and there is explicit information, look at that. There's no way I can go away from that now. Even in live session, I have to do this, that I want the garam chola bhatura and this is the boy that is ruining my life. Okay. You saw my view. You saw my graph. This is, I'm getting, yeah. And then what you can do, the second piece of this, which is even more useful than creating the wiki, is now when I go to Claude, I just attach my wiki. I don't give the context of whole of my folder, whole of my company. I give the context of my wiki and my tools, and all my answers have improved. And I can ask questions about Gaurav, I can ask questions about you folks, I can ask questions about Pawan, and all that is in a very small context. And all that is auditable by the wiki. So I know what my agent is doing, and I can fix it if I find problems inside my wiki. And I am getting credited for it because my name is there every time I change the page and what I provided. And I can even find out which information is helping through the agent and give you points for it. And maybe this is the new rating system, right? Maybe this is how we need to rate people, that how much they are contributing to these common wikis or common information, and then how much of this is getting attributed to the agents using this information, right? And if we can do that and more people do that, maybe humanity finds a way to work with agents. That's the thread. I have automated my weekly business reviews. I ask all these questions to this, and I'm piloting this with 2 customers now, both in Canada. Now you can kill me. The cost of error is low. Okay, this is how the structure looks like. And these are all the resources. This is how you connect your Composio, your Snowflake, your data. This is how you push things. This is how you make an Obsidian. And we'll give you more if all of you are part of us. So don't worry. For Gaurav people, we will charge a lot. That's the idea. But thank you. That's all I had. I will take few questions. But again, I don't want you to come to Bangalore and just stay with you and talk to you over dinner or lunch. I wanted to see if I can add some value and whatever I've seen latest. So this is the latest thing I have seen. The other one, which I talked in the course, and I'm talking on Fridays, is about how to build spec-based coding agents. That's the second biggest threat. And the third biggest thing that I think I am working on is how can we build continuous loop learning loops that are beyond the models inside the companies. Maybe the wiki is one way, but there are more we need to go work on. So these are the 3 threads I am working on in the world that is beyond Claude. If Claude takes my role, then I will be building wikis, and I will be building spec-based products. Every idea which beats humans, and then I will be building learning loops for companies. And I don't think these 3 ideas, if you can master, will give you, still continue to give you wings in a world that Claude continues to grow or Codex continues to grow. That's the state of H2 in 2026. Again, I'm Mahesh, and now I will do dancing with any song that you want to play. None of that is happening. But yes, thanks a lot. I will take more questions. I can take any personal questions as well. How are we doing on time? I don't want